Looks like root damage, either from in transportation or that one might be, there we go, or from when they dug it out from the nursery, which is fine. I'm just gonna tear those off. First, I made sure my hole was big enough, so nothing is bent, or that one I might bend a little bit, but everything is pretty much free. There is pretty much free in here. I might make this a little bit bigger because I have some roots facing up, so let me dig that out real fast for you for this tree. Okay, let's check that again, make sure everything looks good. I think so. Maybe a little bit more on the edge there. See if it fits just a little bit better. Perfect. That looks great right there. Okay. So now that I know my hole is deep enough, I actually might put this a little bit higher too. So it's deep enough and wide enough. I'm gonna lay my tree down. This is not cat litter. This is my Biotone starter fertilizer, and I'm gonna toss a couple handfuls in, and then I'm gonna wet it down, make it nice and soupy in the bottom here. Okay, so I have basically like my lake in the bottom of the hole. It's a couple inches of water. I am going to set my tree in here where I want it. Just like that. Make sure my roots are all nice and spread out. And then at this point, I'm just gonna backfill with the native soil. Try and keep the rocks out. I live in an area where it is extremely rocky. I think every handful that I pick up has some kind of rock in it. So I did pre-dig these holes before I started recording because it's a giant pain in the butt to dig holes. And I don't think you guys want to watch me struggling to dig a hole. If you do, just let me know and I'll dig plenty of holes out here and you can watch me struggle. But as you can see, I'm trying to keep the bigger rocks out, and then I'm just tapping the native soil around the root ball, making sure that there, to the best of my ability, isn't any air pockets, because we don't want air pockets. Let me dig some of this native soil down in here and scooch it to this side. I have some big holes over there. So again, this method is bare root. You can see the bare roots of the tree. It's not in a pot, it's not in a burlap sack. And this type of tree planting can be a little intimidating, but honestly, I find it to be fairly easy. Woo! Sprayed myself. Whoa, that scared me. That sounded like a snake, and we have rattlesnakes here in Montana, and even though it's too cold for them, it still scared me because it sounded like a snake. Okay, let me dig some more of this native soil over here. This is just the soil I dug up from the hole. So I'm just basically, I dug it up from the hole and now I'm putting it back into the hole. The reason why I am not filling this with straight compost is because I don't want to give the root ball like this nice, beautiful place to live. And then when it tries to grow out, it hits native soil and says, I want to grow back into this beautiful soil of compost. So I want to backfill with the native soil so the root system is familiar with it and will grow out and get a nice large canopy of roots on it, rather than sitting in this hole of beautiful compost and then basically like root bounding itself. So that is why I am not using straight up compost when I'm filling in my holes. Oh, here we go. Look at all those rocks. See that? All rocks. Gotta love my area. But so this area used to be a pasture before we owned this house. So lots of manure, and it's actually quite healthy soil. Like when I do get a hand of soil, like that's actually quite beautiful soil, and it's healthy. It's just we are up against a mountain range, which I'm sure you can see in a lot of my videos, and I have very, very rocky soil. Like, oh, I'll have to show you on my other hole that I dug, but I pulled out some boulders basically from the hole. Okay, so I feel pretty satisfied with the amount of native soil that I have here. I'm gonna tamp it down by walking on it using my own body weight. I do get up every so often and make sure that my tree is standing nice and perpendicular to the ground, so it's nice and straight. Basically I cut it into quadrants, so this way and this way, and I just kind of watch it as I walk around and make sure that everything is nice and upright. Okay, so here's my graft point. It is nicely above soil level. I want to fill in with compost to about this level. You can see here is a little bit different coloring than up here, and so and then I have a little root right here, so I want to make sure that this is covered to about here. And I do have about an inch left till I'm at the technical soil level, but I feel comfortable enough with how much topsoil I have here that I'm going to dump the compost now and just fill the rest of the way with compost. spread that around. Again, I don't want to cover up that grafting point. But spread this compost all around the bottom of the tree, making sure I meet the tree canopy and beyond so that these nutrients soak nice and deep. And I will do this every year. I will top off all of these trees with a good layer of compost every year so that they're nice and fed and ready to produce fruit for the year. Yeah. There we go. Like I did on the maple tree, I will create a little bit of a drip line around each of my trees, and this just helps with moisture level. It helps to keep the moisture in here and close to the root system. I try and make this ring the width of the tree canopy. So my tree canopy is this big. And I want to make sure that I'm keeping the moisture in this area and it's not flowing out into my, that's a rock, into my pasture, and I'm losing all of that moisture. Okay, even though we watered in the roots, I am going to water in the top of this as well, just to make sure that all the soil is settled, and to make sure that I don't have any like breaks in my dam, and just to make sure that this tree is set up for its best case scenario. So So the last thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to hook it up on drip as well. We do get pretty dry in the summers, and even though I will come out and hand water quite a bit every day pretty much, I want to make sure that it's on drip as well so that it's getting consistent moisture at the same time every day. And honestly, like maybe if you're in a like a humid or a pretty wet climate, I don't feel that I can overwater these. So even though I, hand water, I'll set it up on drip, everything, I'll make sure that there's like a reservoir of water every day and night in here for this tree, just because, again, I don't, in my climate and how dry we are in the summertime, I don't think I can overwater. I don't think I can get this tree wet enough to rot or, whatever. So I'll do my part, and I'll come out here every day that I can and hand water, and even on the days that I can't hand water, I'll have that drip hooked up and it'll get some water each day. That's the best thing that I've figured out is, especially with like these Bareroot, the more water the better, and consistently through the year, the season. So I'm planting in spring, so spring, summer, and fall, to establish a good root system, and give these trees the best possible scenario for their life. So we have 2 more trees to plant today. I have another apricot and then an apple that I'm going to be planting. So I'll do just time lapses of those guys. It's the same process. I've dug the hole, I put the biotone starter fertilizer in, I make a lake in the hole with my water, put my tree in, make sure my tree is, or my hole is big enough for my tree, and then backfill with native soil, top off with nice nutrient-rich compost. So let's go over to those trees. Hey there, Janae with Palin Projects here, and in this video I planted up some bare root trees. So I know I've done a couple bare root tree plantings, I have a couple more to do, and then I have a whole bunch of bare root plantings behind me, as you guys can see, that I'm going to be doing for like shrubs, berries, and such. But I wanted to kind of break them up into individual videos so that you guys can get details and everything about them. I planted 6 fruit trees over in our pasture area. I'm going to be talking about 3 of them today, and yes, they came bare root. I've kind of talked about this before, why I enjoy planting bare root. One, they're a lot lighter. I can manage them myself. I can dig the holes. I can place the trees. So I can manhandle them myself, whereas if I got balled and burlapped or trees in pots, I wouldn't necessarily be able to plant them and move them around myself. It is a little windy today, so I apologize if the mic is picking that up. But back into the reasons why I enjoy bare root. I had a teacher who said that typically bare root trees take to their spot a little easier and grow a little faster. I had 3 trees in our back row that we got as potted trees. Their roots were root bound in the pot, and then the one died, which we replaced in our maple tree planting video earlier this year. So that's one of the reasons why I chose to go with another reason, I guess, why I chose to go bare root. The third reason was price point. I could get all 10 trees. I got 10 trees, I think. I got 3, 6, 7, 8. And then 2 bushes. I got 2 honeyberry bushes as well, all for under $500. I think my 3 trees in the back row were probably not, I think they were like $300 a piece, like not a piece, but total for 3 trees. Maybe not, maybe it was like 200-ish, but I mean, it was significantly more for less trees. Now, I don't necessarily have the diversity with bare root, but I mean, trust me, there's a diversity out there, especially with our local nursery. They have like 3 big rows. I'll try and do a tour. I'll ask the owner. I know the owner. I took a class with her, and I'll see if I can do a tour for you guys. But they do like 3 big rows of bare root, and they have everything from willows to fruit trees to proven winners, hydrangeas, you know, just a plethora of plants that are bare root down there. So honestly, if I wanted something different, or if I needed something different, if I wanted a shade tree or a fruit tree, I could get whatever I needed down there. And again, I mean, relatively nicely priced. I think the most expensive tree that I had bare root wise was our maple, and that ran me like $100. The rest of these, I don't think I have prices on the tags. They ran me between $20 and $30 though, a tree. Which to me was worth it. They aren't super small trees. Our one apple tree that we have was basically a twig when we got it. It was given to us when we first moved into this house, which plugging that for a nice like home, I don't know, like new home gift, super cool, because now that tree is 4 years, because we've been in this place for 4 years, and it was the very first thing that I planted on this property, which is pretty cool. But that tree was, I mean, maybe 2 to 3 feet tall. I mean, it was pretty small, as Shelby is attacking our cat. Shelby, be nice to him. And it produced its 2nd year. Last year was its 3rd year, and its blooms got frozen off, unfortunately, so we didn't get apples last year. So I'm crossing my fingers that we get apples this year and we don't get a late season snowstorm to freeze those blooms off. But that tree is pretty significant now. It is a dwarf, so it's not going to get absolutely massive, and I do kind of size control it a little bit, and I prune it and manage the size of it. But still, I mean, it produced a number of apples that second year. I mean, way more than what we could have ate. So that was pretty cool. So I will take you guys through and give you a tour of where I planted these 3 trees after I kind of tell you some stats about them. I did plant another dwarf apple over there and 2 apricots. Hi, big kitty. So the reason why I planted 2 apricots is because I wanted some cross-pollination, and they typically do better with another apricot tree nearby. It's kind of like apples. Apple trees need a pollinator or another tree to cross-pollinate with in order to produce. That's windy. Sorry guys. In order to produce fruit. And so I'll have 3 apple trees on this property and 2, because we'll talk about another apple tree a little bit later, and 2 apricots. So that puts me right now, while I don't talk about the other ones, that puts me up to 2 apples, 2 apricots, and 2 plums. So that's how many fruit trees until the next video that we have on our property. So that's 6 fruit trees, which is absolutely amazing. This apple tree though is a Honeycrisp. It's exceptionally crisp, sweet, and juicy. This medium-sized red apple is a must for any home or orchard. Blooms mid-season, ripens late September, and has excellent storage life, up to 7 months. It needs a pollinator. So that's where I said it needs a second tree nearby, and I have one, so we're good there. Even if I didn't have one, our neighbors across the street have an apple tree, so that's how we got apples the first year with only 1 apple tree. It needs full sun, which in the spot that it's going to get, it will get full sun. It varies in size. The zone is 4 to 7. It is a semi-dwarf, so this one again I can size control and keep a little bit smaller if I want. To go into a little bit of, I'll do the planting after this though. I was gonna get off topic here. One of the apricots was the Brookcot Apricot. Its fruit is bright yellowish-orange with a red blush, juicy and with good flavor for fresh eating or canning. Semi-freestone, 1.25-inch diameter fruit ripens in early August. Self-fruitful, however, yields improve with cross-pollination. That's why I got the cross-pollinator, or the second apricot tree. Full sun, 10 to 15 feet tall and 8 to 12 feet wide, 3 to 8 for zones. The last apricot that I got was a Scout. The fruit is bronze gold blushed with red, and the freestone flesh is dark yellow, good for canning and baking and jam, only fair for fresh eating. Fruit ripens in early August, self-fruitful, however, yields improve with cross-pollination. Full sun, 10 to 15 feet tall, 12 to 18 feet wide, zones 3 to 8. So this is where I told you guys I really like to plant, especially fruit trees that are at least 1 to 2 zones below my zone. I'm technically a 5 here, but I operate and I plant things like I'm in a zone 4 or 3. So I know these will be hardy enough and survive our winters. One more item that I wanted to kind of talk about before we go over there. How I decided where and how to plant these. So I definitely marked out, or I wanted to mark out how big these trees were going to get so that they weren't overcrowding themselves when they were at full maturity, because I don't want to be pruning a lot and size controlling all of these fruit trees and all of the trees on my property. That would be just insane and an insane amount of work to do. So I took the size of my area and then I started to map out where these trees were. So when I say 10 to 15 feet tall, that's the height that it could get. And then wide, this Brookcot says it's 8 to 12 feet. So what that means is it's not 8 to 12 feet on one side, it's 8 to 12 feet from the center. So it's 4 to 6, 4 to 6. I'm telling you this because I had to remind myself, and I feel kind of stupid, but I mean, and I wouldn't necessarily call myself a true seasoned gardener, but I should know better. It's windy again. I'll wait for it to die down. There we go. I've planted my fair share of items and I should know better. But I had it wrapped up in my mind that I needed to find a space that was basically 24 feet wide, which that is absolutely massive, guys. But no, it's 4 feet, 4 feet or 6 feet, 4 to 6 feet, 4 to 6 feet, 4 to 6 feet, 4 to 6 feet, 8 to 12 feet high. So just kind of a PSA when you guys are looking at planting trees, make sure that you're putting them in a space that they can grow to full maturity and not be you know, encroaching in anything's space, and they get the requirements, light requirements and everything that they need. So let's go over and take a look at the trees. This is where I planted the first apricot tree. I do have, so each one of those sections in the fence line is 5 feet. So I have significant room here for this apricot tree to grow and not encroach on anything that we're either going to have or that we currently have in our pasture. So you can see our chicken coop is way over there, plenty of space. So we have our 2 plums right there, and then our other apricot is here. So I believe this is the Scout. I could be wrong though. I took the tags off before I made tags for the bottom, but that's the other apricot. So again, plenty of feet, plenty of distance from the fence, and then over here. I did plant the dwarf apple here. We use this area, let me back up for you guys. We do use this area to drive into our pasture. So we have that big gate, and so we do bring trucks through here when we have stuff to haul. But I do feel confident in putting this apple tree right here because it is a semi-dwarf. I can size control it, and it'll be a couple years for it to reach true maturity. But I'm not concerned at this point that that apricot there is going to encroach on this dwarf apple. So this is where our little orchard is starting. You can see the other apricot over there, and then our other tree is, I don't think you guys can see it, but it's right over on the other side of the chicken coop. So plenty of distance for this tree to cross-pollinate with that apple tree, and then the apricots are close enough in distance to have pollinating as well. So I'm gonna finish up in the barn here today just because it is so windy outside. But like I said, these were planted a couple weeks ago. They are starting to bud up and they're looking happy and healthy. So I think they're going to make the transplant and be happy and healthy trees. Maintenance on these guys, I will prune them late winter, early spring. Just like I did my other trees, and make sure that, you know, they have the shape that I want, and we're not introducing any disease or anything like that, issues with crossing branches or broken branches, you know, just doing regular maintenance on them. And then I will come in on a yearly basis as well and just provide them with a little bit of compost and fertilizer, just to make sure that they have enough nutrients in order to produce that fruit for the year. So I hope you enjoyed watching and you learned something. If you have any questions or want to know anything about the varieties I chose and why I chose them, please leave a comment below, and we'll see you in the next project. Bye guys.